What's up guys, it is that Panda Guy and I'm here again with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the Island Raid reintroduction. I'm actually pretty surprised to see this mail because they've had Dark Seal in the woodworks for probably over a year at this point since they took it out and were like, hey, we're going to revamp it. So when they said they were going to do the same thing to Island Raid, I did not believe them. So I'm going to say a few things here. So one, I am happy to see Island Raid coming back. I think Island Raid was one of my favorite events because the simplicity. I think having events that take a lot of brain power or are more complicated can be fun, but they're also stressful once you start making every event more complicated to try and make it better. It kind of ruins the game for me. And I'll say this is kind of the same with Archipelago Raid. I like Archipelago Raid to an extent, but I really don't like it in comparison to Island Raid because I think Island Raid is just simple. I can work on my own. I don't have to communicate with a bunch of alliance leaders just to make an ally, for example, in the beginning and coordinate everything we want to do and make sure this alliance is building exactly where I need them to build and not messing up builds, etc., etc. And it just can make stuff really complicated. It can be a big headache. The diplomacy thing, it's just really stressful, and I do like the whole thing about Island Raid. Obviously there's diplomacy, but all you have to do is work with 1 or 2 alliances maximum, instead of Archipelago Raid, for example, where you have, let's say, 5 alliances on your legion, or 4 alliances, and you're working with 5 alliances on another legion, and then you have to come together and you're managing all these players who you can't control a lot of the players' actions and stuff. So if one team makes a mistake, they start making a bunch of issues between the groups, and it's just it's a whole spew of things. Like even Genesis War in some regards. I mean, I actually like Genesis War personally. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I like it. I can have fun with it. I do understand the whole time zone stuff, but it's not as complicated in regards compared to Archipelago Raid. It's pretty straightforward. The event is understandable, and we can just get out there and fight at the specific time. As long as you're able to be there for the specific time, it's pretty straightforward. So they basically changed some stuff. They had Island Raid added back and stuff. So they said, we are pleased to announce that the long raid awaited Island Raid remake is coming soon, and the new version of the battle duration is shortened to 3 days. So I believe this was 5 to 6 days, probably 5 days before. People did used to complain. This was one of the main complaints about Island Raid, the length of it, saying, hey, the fights basically end in the first day or the first 2 days or whatever the case, right? And I can actually understand and agree with this because I do think the Island Raid duration was way too long and lengthy. You would literally spend days just kind of camping an alliance after you put them on helipad or something, right? And it's just really annoying. It's really exhausting to do that, to make sure that you can pull the win through and you don't make mistakes and stuff. And I do like shortening this event, so I can actually get behind that. If that's the only thing they changed, I'm fine with that, frankly, right? I'm sure they're going to maybe have some other changes. Maybe they're going to change up the map or something. We're really going to have to see on that, because I don't think that they say anything else here. And based off this, I'm assuming this is the only actual update, and it could be wrong. There could be other updates that they just haven't kind of alluded to. But yeah, let's keep going. So with the return of Island Raid, we will also adjust the schedule of large-scale cross-region events accordingly. So Genesis War will run once every 4 weeks. This is the same with everything. A registration for the next round will start on the 6th. So, obviously this is right around the corner. Archipelago Raid will run once every 4 weeks. Registration for the next round will start on the 10th. And Island Raid will run once every 4 weeks. Registration for the next round will start on the 20th. So we do have to wait, about 20 days till we can actually play Island Raid again, or register for it. But I am pretty excited. I am hopeful. I know this is a pretty frequent schedule, but I'm honestly just fine with this. I just want, even if I have to sit out one of the events, or even if I'm honestly, I don't even think sitting out is as necessary, if I'm gonna be honest, because I'm gonna tell you guys something. And people might still complain, but I actually think that how the game's kind of worked itself, this is a more feasible schedule. Besides the fact that you're still going to be potentially struggling on speed ups, I think one of the main issues used to be resources. And if teams are distributing their alliance gold and stuff properly, this could actually be maximized. And obviously a lot of alliances can't get enough gold to just be donating it to main players to get for example, auto farming and stuff. But if you are distributing it well enough, especially for these main alliances, in our case, one of the distribution plans we've come up with was distributing gold to, for example, how besides distributing it to the actual players, right, which is one of our plans, we have another plan which is to distribute it to main fighters and stuff. So helping, like, Big Daddy could probably get on his own, but helping, let's say, Far, or helping Wince, right? Because Wince doesn't spend, helping him get the auto gather feature, and then that means that they're going to be struggling less on resources. It'll also take the toll off of our smaller players who do provide our bigger players with resources. And I do think that the kind of direction of the game has kind of made it easier and more feasible to kind of manage. Obviously, this doesn't work for everybody. Not every alliance can afford this and stuff, and can't just like gift out gold to give people auto gathering or max out auto gathering, whatever the heck you want to do, and like, honestly, I'm willing to do this. I'm willing with the schedule. I don't really have complaints. I can't complain. I'm not going to complain about this one. I'm satisfied right now. Honestly, what I would like to see is them throw Dark Seal in here, and I would not even complain about doing an event each week, because you know what they could really do? They could do Archipelago Raid like the first week, right? Genesis War the next week, and I just say this to kind of like gap it out. Island Raid the next week, and something like Dark Seal the next week. And basically the reason I say it like this is I feel like Genesis War is kind of a much shorter event in terms of fighting and stuff. So having it in between an event like Archipelago Raid, which is much more long term, and then Genesis War, which is kind of short term burst fights and stuff, means that it's not going to be as taxing. So the recovery from like Genesis War to Island Raid will be much easier. Island Raid, I'm sure, is going to be actually probably less taxing than Archipelago Raid in some regards. Sometimes it might be more, sometimes it might be less. I'm not really sure. But Island Raid, it might be after Genesis War in this regard, right? And then you also get out your fighting, and then there's Dark Seal, which is obviously a much like lower toll rate on like how many injuries you're getting or something, right? Like, you generally don't field fight a lot besides in the beginning or fighting over metros or something, right? Like it's just not super frequent, and it's pretty easy to kind of get through that event without healing, or healing very minimally. Overall, I am satisfied with this. They said we welcome suggestions and opinions regarding the large scale cross region events, and we'll carefully consider and adopt them as much as possible. Thank you for your understanding and your support. Honestly, if the developers are watching this video, listen to what I just said there. If you implement it like that, I personally will not complain, okay? I know some people are still going to complain about the frequency of events, but honestly, it's better to have these type of events than not. I don't know. I mean, I don't want them to be too taxing. That's why I kind of proposed it like I did. I can understand it being exhausting and stuff, and I can agree, like if they had like Archipelago Raid, Island Raid, Archipelago Raid, Island Raid, but if they do have like kind of smaller events that don't take as much, or like aren't excruciating as fights, right? Or people don't feel as inclined to participate. I mean, like, you even have in Genesis War a lot more alliances don't feel as inclined to participate. I mean, even in Dark Seal, you had that plenty of times where groups would just go to Zone 2 and kind of hide out. And I mean, that is kind of like a boring factor of it. But at the same time, you do get enough fights in Dark Seal to still have it interesting. And people do want to be constantly engaged with the game, or some people do. And some people are like, hey, this is boring. I don't want to spend a week doing nothing, right? Overall, you guys let me know what you guys think about this. I want to hear what your opinions are about this, reintroduction and stuff. And yeah, I do appreciate you guys for watching as always. I do look forward to your opinions. And yeah, that is about it. Peace out.